So we are here in the master bathroom, and we scouted this previously, and I have a few ideas of what I think the best shot is going to be, but let's take a few test shots and see for real. So what you can see off to my right here is this amazing countertop and this double vanity with these beautiful sinks made out of this incredible marble. Coming down here, you've got this enormous bathtub, which features a wonderful view, which so sadly, the gender reveal fire is kind of messing with. I don't really think it's worth photographing as a result. There's another massive double feature over here, which is these two showers. Again, this incredible book-matched marble throughout. And that will need to be photographed, but I don't think it tells the entire story of the bathroom. I actually think that is going to be over here. And I'm not sure exactly what composition I'm going to choose, but I have an idea. I'm going to presumably prefer to be down at this end. And because what I get over here is I see not only these sinks and the cabinets, the mirrors, and the skylight, but I also see the tub over here. While I don't get the amazing view, if I look this way, there's nothing down there, right? So would I rather have this blank empty wall or this amazing, what I'm assuming is a very expensive tub? And what else I like when I'm down here is I get all these beautiful graphic elements, all these shapes, squares, colors, rectangles that nest into each other and pull us through the frame. All right, one final thing I really like about this composition is that the brightest part of the frame is down here at the end. And that's going to help to guide our eye and pull us all the way through. Now, one rule of thumb that I have been hammering on about for years is that the eye always goes to the brightest thing in the frame, and that's going to help all of these leading lines take us all the way down and show us all the features of this bathroom. Now, it isn't the best view shot, and this isn't the best shot that shows everything, but it shows everything that's important, and that is what is going to make a great photo. It does it in a graphic, interesting way. We're not just throwing the camera in the corner and going as wide as we can to show everything. We're showing all this beautiful stuff arranged very, very nicely. Again, I have my hunch, but we're going to take some test shots and see if we can confirm. I think that you'll agree that the best angle is going to be somewhere over here looking this way. While there are some other really nice angles in here, I'm trying to show and tell the most about this space in the most interesting single shot possible. Of course, I could make 15 photographs here, but we're not working for the bathroom guy. We're working for the architect and the developer, and I don't need to end up with 70 final photos. Just one or two nice shots in here is all that it's going to take. That being said, I love this angle. It has everything I need to tell the story of this bathroom, and so for that reason, I'm going to stick with this one point down here. All right, so let's get this shot set up. Again, this is going to be a tricky reverse kind of job, and I'm going to get the camera right up against the wall, and I'm going to cam range myself into the proper composition. So, Colleen, if I get the iPad, if you don't mind. And what I love about the Arca Cube is I can get everything level and composed without being behind the camera. So we're leveled out there. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to be pretty careful about how I line this up. I have a lot of very strong leading lines, and I'm going to be sure that I make sure I center my one-point composition on one of them. So let's get you in a little bit of focus here. If I'm over here, I could center myself on the edge of the sink, which, let's see how that looks. So check out this shot, and what I don't really like about it is that the right-hand side feels far more visually dense than the left. First of all, you have this massive end of the countertop right in front of the camera. You have the leading line of the edge of the countertop, which pulls us right into the back of the frame, but it's overlapping on the tub, and that's not a great look. I'd prefer to see the tub be completed in the photograph to give us an idea of the size. We have that really bright skylight up top, and I would again really prefer that the brightest part of the frame be more in the center so that our eye isn't getting pulled out of the frame. So I'm going to move a little bit left and see how that looks. And as I move left, I'm beginning to see the front of the countertops and the cabinetry contained within it. Already this is feeling a bit better. The countertop is kind of conflicting still with that tub, but we're getting closer. And now that I go further and further left, I think, what if I line up underneath those lights and use those as the center of my frame? Okay, so the lights here are the center, and it looks like I've got the countertop away from the tub, but that green bush and the stool down there are kind of in the way, and I'm gonna pull those out. So Colleen, if you don't mind grabbing the stool and the green plant down there, and just pulling those out of the picture. All right, this is looking pretty good now. What I'm gonna try to do is adjust my composition a little bit using the tilt shift lens. I'm centered underneath the lights, but on the left I've got bathrooms and toilet paper and all that nonsense. I can close these doors. And that'll clean it up, but what I can really do that'll make this a lot better is actually shift the lens to the left. And this removes some of the door and shows us the right side of the frame and completes the edge of the countertop here and shows the entire mirror. So I can see I'm a little bit crooked. I can go ahead and adjust that. And I'm gonna take another test shot. And there we go. I think we're about 90% of the way here at this point. Colleen, I'm gonna have you sort of remove some of these tchotchkes from the top of the countertop. The towels, I don't mind the pumps, but yeah, grab the candle and take these two towels out. And I'm taking this stuff off. I'm just simplifying and removing things that sort of get in the way of the faucets and the handles. And I'll do a quick move here to straighten this out a little bit and separate them from that faucet. Just to separate those items and make sure there's a clear separation between things on the counter so the viewer can understand everything that's going on. Okay, so I think our composition is really, really close to being done. There's one more thing I want to change, and I feel like we are leaning a little bit into the frame. It feels a bit bottom heavy given how much is going on in the bottom right especially. So I'm going to shift a little bit up. I'm going to go diagonally up and see how that changes everything. So we can shift like this. There we go. And I'm really liking that. That's opened it up significantly. You don't have to shift only up and down and left and right. You can also shift diagonally, which is very useful. All right, we'll do one last test shot. And there we go. There is our composition set and ready to be completed. Colleen, if you could turn these lights off again to keep everything consistent from shot to shot. Okay, so that is everything. Our composition is set. We found the best angle. We cleaned up some of the clutter and made it very visually simple. Now, all I'm going to do, just as in previous shots, is I'm going to bracket 5 images from my base exposure, plus 2 stops and minus 2 stops. Right now my base exposure is 1/30th of a second, f11, ISO 200. And there we have it. There is our completed shot from start to finish of this master bathroom. Let's go ahead and put this together in post-production. Okay, here we are in front of the computer again, and we've got our picture in front of us, and I think this is a pretty awesome photograph. Just looking at the raw file, there's tons of detail here, and I love, 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 love the sort of darkness and mood in it. And it's like there's plenty to chew on, just like the last shot. We have a lot to play with here on our histogram. I think I'm gonna push this one a little bit darker, and I'm gonna kind of play up the shadows and highlights here. So this is becoming a more and more popular look, and I really think we can get away with doing something cool here. So let's go ahead, and I'm gonna operate with the, I'm gonna use the mid as my base exposure. As usual, I'm just gonna do a little bit of highlight and shadow adjustment and apply those to these other images here as well. And let's go ahead and, just in case, I'm gonna take this fourth image. We're gonna take these bottom 4 brackets into Photoshop. And like I said, the dark look is something that's becoming more and more popular these days. And the secret to getting that to look good is to make sure that your highlights aren't muddy. You still want your highlights to be bright, but you want your histogram to be more or less like scooped in the middle. So let's go ahead and start to work on this. So we have our darkest frame here, and as you can see, the highlights, the brightest parts of the image still aren't quite white, and there's almost no detail in the foreground. I love the overall feel of this picture, but again, the highlights aren't as bright as they could be. And there's a lot of blues that start to seep in when you underexpose like this. So we're gonna have to pull out some of the blues. I do like this middle exposure as well. And I feel like the brightest exposure, I mean, really, really bright stuff has its place, but to me it feels a little bit real estate-y. So I try to avoid it. I mean, there's a whole, it's just not my thing. Some people love it. I like to go for a little mood, and that's what we're gonna do here. I think we have a great candidate for that. And you've seen me in a few other shots so far in this tutorial really push the shadows, especially like at the golden hour, or when I have that dramatic slash diagonal through the image. I really like playing up those shadows when I can. I think it gives a bit of a more interesting look than having every shot being super light and super bright. So here's our middle exposure, and here's our darkest exposure. Like I said, I like the feel of this image, but the brights definitely aren't bright enough. So I'm gonna make a mask on this middle exposure here. And what I'm gonna do is grab this channel down here, and like I said, I want to make the blacks blacker and the whites whiter to really drive home the impact of the brightness in our image. So something like that. I want to leave the darks almost untouched in our current shot. So I'm going to click OK, and as you can see from this mask, the brights are going to be the only thing I'm grabbing. I'm almost entirely avoiding the darks here. So I'm going to go ahead and make that selection, Command or Control click, go back to Layers, and add that. And as you can see, it significantly brightens up the brightest part of the image. There's a little muddiness that I'm going to sort of take out. But on the whole, that looks really, really good. The one thing that, let's see. Yeah, the one thing that's still kind of bugging me, I feel like I could get a little more light on the front of that vanity. So I'm going to go ahead and add to my mask manually with the, I'll use the pen tool. Just going to click around and make sure I brighten up some of this vanity. I'll come all the way down here. And the reason I'm using the pen tool is this is just way too complicated for a lasso. You could get 10 clicks into this and then accidentally double click, and then you lose your selection and it's a nightmare. So put that to 1 pixel and take a brush, and I'm just going to start working in a little more brightness here. I don't want to go over the top, but a little more. And I can maybe come down here just a touch more in the foreground. And that feels very nice to me. And now what I'm thinking, let's see how we're doing here. Window properties, let's see. Are we blown out or what? Let's see how we're looking. No, we're actually pretty perfect. We've got, that's almost blown out, that sunspot. There's plenty of detail, subtle detail in these highlights. I'm sorry, this is so sexy, that the warmth and the coolness right here. And then the brightest part of the image is obviously where our eye is going to go down here in the tub. Again, the sun is bright but not blown out. This is very, very close to white but not totally there. And I think this looks awesome. So let's go ahead and close out of that. And like I said, a lot of blue gets introduced when you're going this dark. So let's go ahead and suck this blue out. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to use a new adjustment layer. Keep this simple. Hue and saturation. I'm going to select the blues and just pull that down, right? It takes the blue out of the painting there in the background, but the blue in the foreground is significantly lessened. And I'll take a brush and I'll paint out that hue and saturation adjustment in the back of the image here. And I'm gonna let a little blue come down this skylight, just like a touch. Super subtle, but I don't like it in the marble because the marble frankly should be white. But I don't mind if there's a little blue up here. All right, that's looking really good. I love this warmth. I'm going to leave that. We need a little color to signify warm light. And I don't want to sterilize this and take out all of the color. Those subtle colors are very, very beautiful. So that's looking really good to me so far. What else do I want to do here? Yeah. Big improvement there and there. And I love how this the luminosity mask, the effect that it had on this countertop is just awesome. Like when I turn, look how flat it is when I turn it on and off. But because there's gray and white and black in there, we separated it out, and we have the mid. Again, you can see when I activate the mask, some of that mid layer is adding tons of contrast to that countertop, and that just looks awesome. So let's go ahead and tidy this up. I'm going to take this house out, kind of bugging me. It's like the one ugly thing in this entire photograph. And that's just going to be a quick clone. All right, there is our almost finished image. Let's take this into Lightroom and give it a final once-over. All right, here we are back in Lightroom, and I think all this needs is a quick vertical line adjustment. And a crop. I'm going to get rid of that second doorway on the left. I'll come down a little bit on top. And I'm going to go about there. Come in. That looks like about a 4x5, doesn't it? No. 5x7 maybe is the way to go. I like getting that full mirror on the edge. That, and I'm going to take this out. It's a little bit distorted. And I think we're better off without it. Are we better off without all these lights? Let's see. I mean, they are really nice recessed lights, but I could see it going either way. Some of my clients, like I said, some ask for it, some don't. That is one sexy photograph right there, isn't it? Look at that. All right, so if you're gonna go for that dark look, it's really important that you make sure your highlights are bright. Make sure your shadows are dark and your highlights are bright. Your midtones tend to muddy these images. So if you're gonna go bright, it's fine, but if you're going for that dark look, make sure that those highlights have some kick. You know what I mean? Make sure that they're nice and bright to pull the eye all the way through. Nothing is sort of blander than a flat image, a dark and flat image. And here's the raw file. I'll apply that crop. And you can see, oh yeah, look at the difference, right? So that is a much, much better image. And I think I just love the graphic composition. I love the light. I love the super subtle blue, the really subtle warmth, and that sort of rushing feeling that we get towards that pop of color over the tub. while looking at this. So awesome image, and we got to do something new with that darker sort of style. Let's go back on location and get a few more.